Liz can attest that this is not my strong suit, but I will do my best here. I think you're in screen 2. Got it. And okay, it's the wrong one, but I always pick the wrong screen. New share. Screen 1. That makes more sense. Okay. See? Now we're starting. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining Jackson Street Storm Phase 2. This is a project I've been working on for close to 5 years now, so pretty excited to be getting it out the door. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we have some good information for you tonight. The agenda, as you see right here, we're just going to go through some quick introductions, explain the purpose, the background of the project, what we did in Phase 1, what's coming in Phase 2, the impacts and benefits, and the detours that we anticipate, and then open it up to any questions. So here's a quick reminder on how virtual meetings work. So please stay unmuted while you're not talking. There's chat window. Hopefully Liz can keep an eye on that. I'm terrible about noticing those prompts. And ask any questions along the way if you feel like jumping in. So we'll be happy to address them as they come up. And just some little etiquette reminders just for our Denver projects. Just we invite your participation, enjoy your diversity of perspectives. Certainly you may see things that we haven't seen and we'd like to hear about it. Listen with the intent to learn, and then share your opinions. So here we go. So here's our team. So obviously I'm Jim Coakley with the design for DOTI, Denver Department of Transportation Infrastructure. Matt Ferris, who you probably just saw, he's going to be the construction PM on this. He fortunately was the construction PM on 17th Street, so he knows the neighborhood and the complications of the area pretty well. Got Craig Jacobson and Taylor Doman from Icon Engineering. They're really wrangling in the design. They're a great team, and the sub-consultants that we have on the team are pretty fantastic too. So really think we got this one figured out. So, and then Liz Palmquist, who started the meeting. So she's facilitating for NHN Consulting. So the purpose, these pictures make it painfully obvious why we're here. The upper right was from National Jewish, taken from the second or third floor. We've fixed that pretty well in Phase 1. We put a bunch of inlets, and my understanding, the storm you see in the bottom left, which was just a few weeks ago, when that was, 8 to 12 inches of water in the intersection of 12th and Colorado. My understanding is it got to just the top of curb, so just about 6 inches of ponding, which is fantastic for the storm that we saw out there. This project is a continuation of a previous project in 2009. We're going to be doing some improvements to the intersections of 14th and Harrison and 13th and Colorado. And then lastly, the east side of Colorado Boulevard is going to see some pretty big improvements along there with expanded sidewalk and new curb and gutter amenity zone. So we'll be seeing some pictures of that later. So this makes a lot of sense to a hydrologist, but I'll try and make it make sense to you. The area in yellow, the bottom one, is the basin, the watershed. Any drop of water that lands inside that entire area is what we would anticipate to, or what we'll get to, essentially Colfax and Jackson. That is, I think it says 3.8 square miles, which is huge. It's about 9 square miles by the time we make it down to the Platte River. So for perspective, the bottom right there is Fairmount Cemetery, and the upper left is Globeville Landing and like the 39th Avenue project right up there by I-70. This is Denver's largest watershed without an open channel. We are doing this project to extend the storm sewer with extra capacity to carry more water below ground as opposed to above ground for the Hale Parkway project, kind of working towards that, the sumps up above and progressing along the way. So, and again, just some local improvements for a couple of intersections. So Phase 1, that was the project we completed about a year ago. You can see here we put in a 126-inch storm pipe. That's 10.5 feet. This pipe here is incredible. Just the two construction personnel from Ames there in the pipe give it some perspective. Uh, that was a massive pipe. It added about 1,000 cubic feet per second, which I mean it's a bunch of water that now goes under the street as opposed to on top. The hospital had seen pretty much annual flooding in not too big of events. So this pipe and the continuation of the project is really going to help them out and hope and the development community as we work our way southeast should see some great improvements as well. So that project did start January 2020 and was completed July 2021, which was on time and on budget. So that was a pretty good accomplishment there. Here you can see those limits. The project we finished in 2009 was a 14-foot by 7-foot concrete box that got us to Colfax and Jackson. The upper light blue line was what we did in phase 1, really through National Jewish's main driveway and through their service docks, and then finally in Jackson is where we completed. You can see there's a red line that continues south. That's the existing 90-inch brick pipe. So that's 7.5 feet in diameter. So we extended a 10-foot by 8-foot box culvert. So you think about the size of a normal hallway. That's about how big that pipe is underground. So we're going to pick up where that one left off. And we see this project really in about 3 specific segments, different types of construction. That we're going to put that first leg is we're going to go past Harrison as we continue east and then jog into the detention pond at the north side of that parking lot by Harrison and continue through there in a 110-inch pipe similar to the one that you just saw on that previous slide. Then we're going to tunnel under, and that's going to take 3 to 4 months. Then we are going to tunnel under Colorado Boulevard in 2 84-inch pipes. And then when we get to the other side of Colorado, we're going to put a new 120-inch, so 10-foot diameter concrete pipe that's going to follow alongside the back of sidewalk there, all the way down to 13th, right along the National Jewish parking lot there. So that'll take another 6 months or so. So I put in some dates here, and I hope they're not too optimistic. We're really pushing to get this one out, and so if we have any complications along the way with contracting or bidding, obviously these dates slide, but we don't see the timelines changing. And I think spring 2023 is a pretty realistic date to start as well. So the impacts and benefits. So we do see some pretty significant street closures. I know in phase 1, anyone who was out there at the time experienced the closure of 14th was difficult, and we're going to do it again just to put that big of a pipe. And really, we're crossing the street now, so there's just no way to keep it open throughout as much as we would like to. Colorado Boulevard, we anticipate the contractor will take the eastmost lane on that northbound. That northbound lane, we think they're going to need that for most of the duration there for the 6 months. Hopefully for a good chunk of that, they're able to limit their work to off peak. So say at 9 a.m. they'd put up the cones and then by 3 p.m. start pulling them out. So it doesn't bog down rush hour any more than it has to. Matt pointed out to me we are replacing all that curb and gutter, and then specifically with that bus stop, you can't just set concrete and then go driving on it the next day. It's going to be down for a couple weeks. And then we do see a full closure of 13th Avenue. I think 2 to 3 months is probably a bit too long for that statement there, but just being cautious there. And that'll be a full closure, and there'll be some slides at the end to explain what's going on there. And lastly, since this is a hard bid, that's the way we do our projects with Dottie. The contractor will determine where they set up. We're hoping they can stay out of the streets if at all possible. So we don't dictate to them where they can set up. So we'll see what happens there, and stay tuned. We will have another construction meeting once we get the contractor on board, and when they have a game plan, they can fill us in and address any concerns as well. So the project benefits, as I mentioned, we're improving 14th and Harrison and 13th in Colorado. Some inlets there will really help the local flooding that we see during storm events. Um, and then, as I mentioned, Colorado Boulevard and actually 13th are going to have an amenity zone, which is kind of those tree grates and planters that you'll see between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. And then Colorado is going to get an 8-foot sidewalk, and 13th will get a 5-foot sidewalk, which is, you'll see in the next slide, an amazing improvement. And then here at the last point, we are improving the intersection of 14th and Harrison. That crosspan is in terrible shape, and the curb and gutter is pretty bad too. So we did a little extra work that wasn't really in our work limits, but we expanded out there to, those are drainage elements as well. So we want to get those cleaned up while we're here. So here's an awesome graphic that our landscape architect put together. At the top, you can see the existing condition. It's like a 4 or 5-foot sidewalk. So you're walking right next to cars going 45 miles an hour down Colorado Boulevard. And then you've got a 4-foot wall and a fence on top. So there's just, you're pinned right up against traffic. So the bottom part of this slide, you can see, can everyone see that? That we're actually going to put in those tree grates and then a detached sidewalk. So you'll be 8 feet away from traffic if you're walking along those trees. And then we're laying back the slope with riprap, similar to what the existing condition is, up by 14th. It'll be a pretty steep embankment with riprap, but it looks a lot nicer than an old raggedy concrete wall for sure. So, and then some plantings along the way too. So it's really going to be a big improvement there. And so jumping right into detouring, this is a lot to take in, but I'll try and walk you through it. And my first caveat here is, again, we don't have a contractor on board, so they will ultimately determine what and get a permit to do this work. But we think, just knowing what our city traffic engineers will allow, this is pretty realistic of what can happen. So at the east end, the right edge of this page is really where the work zone starts, National Jewish. I put the major elements in green so you can see what they were, in the major streets in orange and blue for the Broncos. So if we close everything down at Jackson so we can work free and clear in that area over there, if you have to jump all the way back to the west side here to York and Josephine, because we can't take a 2 or 3 lane major roadway in the heart of the city and dump it on a residential street. So we had to find a similar capacity street to put up a messaging board, those big displays that tell you what's going on with traffic. Before the construction starts, they would put up the messaging board and say, hey, construction is starting on date X, and be aware it will be closed at Jackson. So York and Josephine advised. So the bulk of the traffic should divert to York and Josephine to get to Colfax or 6th Avenue, depending which direction they wanted to go. Um, and then and then hopefully, and then it should just be local traffic continuing on through. If you needed to get to Detroit Street or Milwaukee, you would continue on your way. But if you needed to get through to Colorado, you're going to be needing to get off at Garfield. So hopefully you do it at a major roadway. It should work out better for you. This is what we did in phase 1. So it's really pretty standard. Once they get to Garfield, they can go north or south. If you go to Jackson, you have to go south. So that should stay open for National Jewish's deliveries, though, and their patients and customers. So that is the bulk of that. These slides will be available afterwards, too, if you want to take a deeper dive, or we can always go back to if there are any questions. So that next segment, when we're working along Colorado Boulevard, we'll see it. We anticipate a 1-lane closure. Like I said, hopefully just during those off-peak times, late morning to early afternoon. So they would taper that northbound down to 1 lane, or to 2 lanes, sorry, removing 1, and then closing off this 1 lane so they can work off to the right of that lane. And there's going to be pretty significant work going on here. I left out the part where this pipe is 10 feet in diameter. It's also going to have 10 to 12 feet, actually kind of where this big tree cropping is. I think it's about 15 feet of dirt on top of it. So you're going 2.5 stories deep. It's about as tall as my house. So we're doing a lot of work here. So like I said, that bus stop will be removed, and that's going to take a couple weeks really to tear it out, put the new one in, and let that concrete get up to full strength before we can be driving on it. And then 13th, which when I put this slide together, I realized I do need to make sure that it's clear that this isn't a long duration that we're doing this, less than 14th and for sure, and Colorado as well. So, but similar kind of flipping the script, almost mirroring the whole system over. If you're heading westbound on 13th at the right edge of the page, the video messaging board would tell you to go to Colfax and 8th, local traffic only. And then continuing through, you would get to 13th and Ash, and then I anticipate that'll be a full closure-ish, that local traffic only, and maybe they leave it open for these apartments and such, but it wouldn't be a through street. It would be fully closed when they get to the work area. It's going to be too big of an area for them to leave open it or even have a through lane. So, and then kind of a bigger blow up on the actual work zone. We're really only working at the intersection. So they'll have that whole street closed, and then, like I said, maybe a partial closure and then a full closure at Albion. But again, hopefully it's a month, several weeks. They're really just getting the pipe in the street so we can pick up phase 3 outside of National Jewish's property and finally be out of their day-to-day business on phase 3. So we want to get that done with this phase. So that really, I tried to blow through it. I also talked pretty quick, so hopefully it went fast enough, but not too fast. So we have this information up here. We have a hotline, we have a dedicated website and email for any questions. You can reach out to Matt or me as well if you have any questions. Matt is great during construction at handling any questions or concerns, and frankly, I'm always available as well. So with that, if there are any questions, it'd be great to hear from you.
Hi, this is Lauren Green Caldwell with National Jewish Health. You said you would be, I know you're recording this. I'm just wondering, will you be posting this slide deck somewhere? Or sharing that so we could look at it again?
Yeah, the slide deck will be on the webpage as well, yeah. And Lauren, my apologies for the snafu at the beginning.
It's all right.
We've all done it. The first one of these, I was 7 minutes late to my own presentation, so I'm just as guilty, Liz. So, Lauren, I could probably send it right over to you right now if you like.
Oh yeah.
Sure, that would be great. Thanks.
Anyone from the council offices or?
I don't have any questions, Jim. Thanks for presenting, and yeah, we're D10's not going to be in here for the whole duration of this project, but we're super excited for it. We just wrapped our stormwater project in Cherry Creek, and it turned out great, and expecting the same with this one.
It'll go smooth. I'm confident in Matt. So, yeah, phase 1 had its difficulties. I think this one, once we get past Harrison, a lot of the complications should alleviate themselves. And you never know when you're digging that deep, you find stuff. But we do good. It's what we do. So.
Okay.
Well,
I think everybody on here has everybody's contact information. So, and as far as National Jewish, I mean, things went well working with you all and in the disruption during the first project across the parking lot. But just, as Jim said, reach out to any of us with any questions. I don't have the technical.
We'll be in touch with the district offices and with the hospital to keep you apprised of where the contracting process is landing, as these dates get firmed up. Well, if things do slip to a March start or an April start, I'll let you know along the way.
Great, we appreciate that.
Great. I think that's it, Liz.
Okay, Jim, I hate to ask you this. You did it so quickly. So Nora's over at the other link and she has 3 people who didn't email me to join.
Oh, no. Sure.
Okay, so do you guys mind hanging just for a few minutes?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Let me
Hi. Hey, shh.